I never thought my life would turn out this way. After 20 years of marriage, I discovered that my wife had been living a double life. It started when she left me for a guy who was married to her childhood friend from school. The worst part? I found out that my 6-year-old daughter wasn't even mine. She was his. My wife had known this from the day she got pregnant, but kept it hidden from me, even though my name was on the birth certificate. I had worked 2 jobs to support our family, giving up my dreams of becoming a musician so she could stay home with our kids. Looking back, I can see how she took advantage of my dedication. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I always made excuses for her behavior. The emotional and physical abuse I endured, thinking it was because of her condition, it wasn't. She later admitted to her friends that she often hit me simply because she felt like it or wasn't getting her way. Our kids witnessed her outbursts many times. I remember one incident clearly. I had just come home from a 16-hour shift, and she got angry because I hadn't taken out the trash immediately. She grabbed me by the neck while our son watched in horror. When I told her our son would remember this forever, she finally let go. I should have left then, but I stayed for the kids. I didn't want them to grow up in a broken home. When everything came to light, my wife didn't show any remorse. She sat down with her friend, the one whose husband she'd been seeing, and simply said, "Yes, it's true. No, I'm not sorry." Then she just walked away. She took the kids and moved into an apartment right behind ours. For a whole year, I hoped she would come back. She kept her keys to our place, and I thought maybe she was holding on to them because she planned to return. But then things got worse. Her boyfriend started showing up at the school bus stop when I was dropping off the kids. He'd say things like, "I've come to see my daughter off to school, not your daughter, mine." I asked him why he was so content letting me raise her for 5 years, why he let her have my last name, why he wasn't there at her birth, and why my name was on the certificate instead of his. He almost hit me that night, and later they both showed up drunk at my door looking for a fight. Then my wife took it to social media, bragging about her new relationship. Our friends were shocked and reached out to me and his wife. I made sure to save all the screenshots. I knew they'd be useful later. I went through a rough patch after that. I kept questioning myself, wondering what I could have done differently. She blamed me for not being around enough, but how could I be when I was working constantly to support us? She'd scream about me not taking out the trash after a 16-hour shift, while our kids had drawn all over the walls and damaged the house under her watch. Things started to change when my brother Ryan insisted I meet his band members. Though I wasn't interested in joining, I became friends with them, and through their guitarist, I met someone new. At 45, she was different from anyone I'd ever known. Being in a relationship that didn't involve constant screaming and violence was like stepping into a different world. But my ex-wife still had keys to our apartment and would let herself in to drop off things for the kids. The first time she walked in and found my new girlfriend there, all hell broke loose. She called me that night demanding to know who this woman was. I took great satisfaction in telling her it was none of her business. She had moved on with someone else, after all. That's when things started getting really strange. My ex began stalking my new girlfriend, even sending her Facebook friend requests and demanding she accept them. When my girlfriend refused, my ex called me screaming that I needed to make her accept the request because she needed to see what kind of person was around our kids. My girlfriend grabbed the phone and told her firmly that she didn't need to add her as a friend, and that any communication about the kids could be done through messages or calls. This set off a chain of events that would make the next few months feel like I was living in some kind of twisted reality show. My ex-wife's behavior got more disturbing after that phone call. She started sending her friends to add my girlfriend on social media, trying to spy on our life. Then she began letting herself into my apartment every weekend while I was at work, claiming she needed to check things like how much milk was in the fridge for when the kids visited. I demanded she return her key, but she just took our son's house key and made copies for herself. That's when my girlfriend suggested I move in with her. She lived in a beachfront property about an hour away. My ex tried everything to stop the move, even calling the police and claiming I was stealing her belongings. When the officers asked her to list what was hers, she couldn't name a single item. We get the kids every other weekend now. At first, my ex told them they weren't allowed to talk about what they did with me. She didn't want to hear about it. That rule didn't last long, though. Soon she was interrogating them about everything we did together. I think it's because she's jealous of our lifestyle. We live near the beach, and when the kids visit, we take them to the boardwalk, let them ride the carnival rides, play in the sand, or visit the local aquarium. But whenever they go home with prizes or souvenirs, my ex throws them away. Then things got even weirder. My ex started copying my girlfriend's appearance. She dyed her hair the same color, got the same haircut, and even started dressing like her. Whatever activities we did with the kids, she would replicate the following week. If we took them to the zoo, she'd take them to the zoo. If we had pizza for dinner, she'd make pizza and ask the kids whose was better. Last week, my son asked if he could live with us. He said his mom was crazy, and I'm definitely using that in court. I'm fighting for custody of both kids, even though I'm not my daughter's biological father. The birth certificate lists me as her father, which gives me legal rights, and I've raised her as my own from day one. Just when I thought things couldn't get more bizarre, my ex started sending me inappropriate pictures late one night. My girlfriend was sitting right next to me when they came through. I immediately showed her my phone and told her I hadn't asked for these pictures. Instead of getting upset, my girlfriend just laughed and said she should send some pictures back to show her how it's done. When I called my ex to ask what she was thinking, she tried claiming she meant to send them to someone else. My girlfriend pointed out that my name would be nowhere near her boyfriend's name in her contacts and asked who this new guy was since the pictures weren't meant for him. My ex hung up. I've moved away from the old apartment now, and my ex can't break in anymore. We don't give the kids keys either, because we know she'd just take them and make copies again. I'm working with my lawyer to fight for custody. Even though it's harder since I'm not my daughter's biological father, I'm her dad in every way that matters. The whole situation has been rough on the kids. I check them for bruises whenever they visit, making sure they're not being abused. Recently, my ex got physical with her boyfriend, and he punched a hole in their wall, warning her that if she tried to hit him again, he'd fight back. My lawyer says we can use all of this in court. Then something unexpected happened during my daughter's 6th birthday. The birthday situation caught me off guard. It wasn't my weekend to have the kids, but my ex suddenly asked if I wanted them for our daughter's 6th birthday. I said yes, of course, and she even let me keep them for 2 extra days. What struck me as strange was that this was the first birthday where her biological father could officially celebrate with her, but instead, they gave her to me and my girlfriend. A few weeks later, I got a series of angry texts from my ex late on a Saturday night. She was clearly drunk, saying things like, "I hope you're happy that you won and go ahead and gloat." When I asked what she was talking about, she went off about how all men are pigs and can't be trusted. It didn't take much to figure out that her boyfriend had cheated on her, the same guy she left me for, who had already cheated on his wife 3 times before. She started attacking my girlfriend, calling her ugly and claiming I only loved her because I was homeless and needed a place to live. The irony was that I had my own apartment before moving in with my girlfriend. I only moved because my ex kept breaking in. She then switched to saying she wasn't enough for me. I wanted to remind her that she was the one who walked out, but I just told her to contact me when she was sober and turned off my phone. When my girlfriend came home, I showed her the messages. Instead of getting upset, she just laughed and said, "Looks like he cheated." She wasn't even bothered by the insults. She said my ex's true narcissistic nature comes out when she's drunk, and bet that my ex was upset she couldn't come running back to me for revenge. As expected, my ex got back together with him 3 days later. Then came Halloween. I was playing with my band at an annual adults-only party, something I'd done for years before. My ex showed up uninvited with her boyfriend and our kids, even though she knew children weren't allowed. Security tried to stop her, but she made a scene, yelling that the kids wanted to see their father play. My friend who was hosting finally said she could stay for 2 songs and then had to leave. While I was on stage, my ex tried to start trouble with my girlfriend, but that backfired. My girlfriend called her out for using the kids to play games, and several people witnessed it. Then my daughter accidentally embarrassed my ex by announcing to everyone that she had 2 daddies, me and her mom's boyfriend who was her real daddy. My ex left after that, but my son refused to go with her. He stayed with my girlfriend for the rest of the party, and we took him home the next day. When I dropped my son off, my ex made sure she wasn't there. Her boyfriend tried to talk to me about how she'd been acting, but I didn't want to get involved. Later that night, my son called to tell me they were having a huge fight. Her boyfriend had finally gotten tired of her behavior and accused her of not being over me. He asked her what bothered her more, that I had moved on and she couldn't come back, or that if she hadn't left me for him, I might have eventually left her for my girlfriend anyway. I could hear them screaming in the background while talking to my son. He said he was okay and didn't need me to pick him up, but I stayed on the phone with him until things calmed down. The divorce is still ongoing, and I'm still fighting for custody of both kids. The difference now is that I no longer look back at what I lost. I'm focused on getting my kids out of there and moving forward with my life. My ex is still with him, even though she knows he cheated on her just like he did with his wife and the others before her. When she first left me, she said, "I know what I'm getting into," when I reminded her about his history of cheating. She really thought she would be different, that she would be the one to make him change. I guess some lessons have to be learned the hard way. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.